Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having an incredible day. To start things off, retail giant Walmart has applied for a cryptocurrency patent that bears some similarities to the Libra token proposed by Facebook. In its application with the US Patent and Trademark Office, Walmart touts the concept of a digital currency tied to a regular currency, that is, what's commonly known as a stablecoin. Libra will be a token pegged to a basket of fiat currencies and government bonds, according to Facebook. Over and above that, the following suggests that the proposed coin could help provide finance for those with limited access to banking services, one of the major claims Facebook has made for Libra. Most likely in an effort to appeal to the public and regulators over the token, they said, using a digital currency, low-income households that find banking expensive may have an alternative using way to handle wealth at an institution that could supply the majority of their day-to-day financial and product needs, end quote. First of all, that doesn't make any sense. Low-income households don't have wealth in the first place. Wealth is usually after you're rich. Like when you have a lot of money and then you get more money, and then wealthy, for those who don't have English as a first language or have no idea what I'm talking about, like when you say, you can point at someone and go, wow, that person's rich. And you look at them and go, well, they're wealthy. Like they have it. They don't ever even have, they can take the word job out of their vocabulary because they will never, ever have to say it ever. So for them to even talk about that they're trying to make something that could help low-income households handle their wealth at an institution, meaning pretty much is spending money at Walmart, is incredibly shady of them. Facebook's offering is expected to create a system whereby its social media platform could use Libra for payments, allowing advertisers to earn Libra and pay Facebook in the token for ads, although it could also be used more widely in time in remittances and other use cases. Walmart's filing too indicates that the coin could have features that apply to a token being used within the ecosystem of a higher street retail company. They said the digital currency may be pegged to the US dollar and available for use at selected retailers or partners. In other embodiments, the digital currency is available for use everywhere. The digital currency can provide a fee-free or fee minimal. Oh, come on. Don't say it could be fee-free and then you go, well, it could be fee minimal. Place to store wealth. That's not. No one's storing their wealth with Walmart. For example, at retailers, and if needed, easily convert it to cash. First of all, for those of you who are new to the game or have, this is Bitcoin. What they're talking about is a place for you to be able to store your cash, to be able to potentially, actually, maybe one day become wealthy and not actually have to worry about other sovereign currencies. Like this is terrible. This news came out about a couple days ago, and I'm just getting to it right now. And as I've read through it, I realize just how completely terrible it is. First of all, for those of you who are smart enough out there, golf clap to all of you. For those of you who realized immediately that Facebook's Libra coin was a pile of garbage. This is not going to be any different. Even their usage of words, I mentioned this before for those, and I really mean this. Years and years ago, before I had just gotten into finance in any form, I remember trying to watch financial news, and I used to be so confused as to like the words they were using and stuff like that. But they use a lot of words, companies, to make sure that it sounds appealing to you. And this is exactly one of those sentences. Like this talk about low-income households that may find banking expensive. Usually they don't even have access to banks because usually banks don't open up in poor countries, cities, provinces, towns as an alternative to handle their wealth. These people aren't wealthy. They're low-income households who don't have access to banks because banks don't like poor people. At an institution that can supply the majority of their day-to-day. That's incredible. Can you imagine the audacity that Walmart has to be able to think that people who don't have enough money to barely feed their family want to use Walmart then as a bank? It's the same exact thing that we were talking about with Facebook before. Imagine, you've probably seen it as well. This is why a majority of younger people no longer really use Facebook, is that they've been like shadow banning accounts. If you say something on Facebook, if you post something, if you post a photo that they deem inappropriate, they don't like, or rather it shouldn't be on their platform, they ban your account. I have a lot of friends who've been shadow banned for like 30 days for doing nothing. Someone else can report you get shadow banned 30 days, makes no sense. So imagine a situation, one, where you're trying to use Facebook as a bank, which is the worst idea in the entire world, and that you post something or you write something to a friend and someone's like, I don't like that. And then you can't use your money for 30 days. Imagine if Walmart has a system, which I'm pretty sure they're going to try and have, if they already even have one like this, some type of a credit system, i.e. with debt, and you owe them $150 because you didn't get your paycheck or whatever, and they go, well, yeah, we now have to freeze your account. So imagine you having to be desperate enough to think about even using Walmart as a bank. They freeze your account, and then you can't even go to other Walmarts to pay for stuff or to buy other things because they've frozen your account and therefore probably have even frozen your little Walmart banking card. Terrible. I am sure, here's the actual patents right here. I assume that we are going to get more information on this as time ends up going on. Everyone is very desperate right now to figure out exactly how to, I don't want to say beat Facebook, but that's kind of exactly what it is. Everyone thinks that they can kind of create these own coins right now. This is, what is it, like phase 3 or 4 of what people were talking about years ago was going to happen in the cryptocurrency space. This is the, I want to say like they fight you kind of period. It's more like they see Bitcoin. Bitcoin means nothing to them, and they don't realize that Facebook coin was made because of Bitcoin, and that Facebook coin also isn't going to be as successful as Bitcoin. And they think, well, therefore, this major company did it. I can also throw my money behind that as well, and will definitely be the most popular thing. The problem is that a lot of people are going to fall into this trap. There are a lot of people who probably are reliant on Walmart, who aren't making a lot of money, who are low-income housing families, whatever name you want to stick to families like that. And anyway, the overall news is Walmart is trying to create a stable coin, which is ridiculous, because even more so, I'm not a fan of it, but you could just use the US dollar. Doesn't that sound a bit more interesting to use as opposed to a coin that's going to be ruled over by Walmart or by Facebook? Anyway, before I get even more upset, I didn't even mean to be upset this early in the morning. Let's move on. Next up, two companies are, oh yeah, I'm going to be upset at this one as well. Two companies are spinning up XRP validators to boost the network and further decentralize the third largest crypto asset by market cap. Validators crunch the numbers to determine if transactions meet protocol requirements, allowing them to be either accepted or rejected by the network in an effort to prevent abuse and double spending. Before anyone, I can feel people starting to furiously type or scrolling down to the comment section so that they can let me know exactly how centralized XRP is. For those of you who don't know, and I give you a big hug for anyone who does know this, people running validators on the XRP network or any other network always have the capacity in some sort of way to either accept or reject transactions that are happening on the network if they believe that they are fraudulent, and this is what makes Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies robust and very strong. I.e., I mean, it can be done in multiple different ways, and this is why double spending has never really been an issue on the Bitcoin network and many other networks, because of the validators who are making sure that the transactions that are going through it are valid. And the same exact thing will happen for XRP validators. I was trying to discuss this before with someone else, and they were like, yeah, well, the fact that they can, like, you know, stop it or like reject it and stop double spending tax, that sounds so centralized. And it's like, well, that's how blockchain works. They are validating the transactions to make sure that if you have 20 XRP in your account and you're trying to send that 20 XRP to someone else, and you send those 20 XRP to someone else, that your account still doesn't say 20 XRP. This is what happens normally on the network. This is just what a validator does. So for those of you who were furiously going to the comment section, please just hit the backspace bar and just continue listening. The Canadian crypto exchange CoinField says it has one node up and running and plans to spin up more in the coming months. CoinField is a dedicated supporter of XRP and uses the digital asset as a base pair on its exchange, with 30 coins now paired directly with XRP. Kind of cool. I like hearing stuff about this. What's really weird is that we don't hear a lot of, what was the other currency? I can't remember off the top of my head. There's far too many cryptocurrencies right now that had something similar to, like, they only had, like, what was it, like 7 nodes or something like that? It wasn't Neo. It might have been Neo. There was one of them that had very few nodes, and they were talking about, yeah, we were planning on making our network more robust, and then they just stopped all news about that as far as anyone else even thinking of having a node or doing anything on the network. Anyway, kind of cool. I like the expansion of networks. I find them quite interesting. And without further ado, let's move on. Next up, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, could learn from other countries when finalizing its own crypto regulation. This was said by Commissioner Hester Pierce. While highlighting peculiar and notable features of the U.S. system, the commissioner emphasizes cross-border considerations, detailing applicable crypto frameworks of several countries. SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce explained last week her agency's approach to regulating crypto assets and how the U.S. could draw from other countries' regulatory frameworks in settling its own policies. Her speech was given in Singapore at the SUSS convergence firm, Inclusive Blockchain, Finance, and Emerging Technologies. What a long title for a conference. Singapore at the SUSS convergence firm, Inclusive Blockchain, Finance, and Emerging Technologies. Anyway, hosted by Singapore University of Social Sciences. Oh, that makes sense. The S. Anyway, among the topics she discussed were cross-border crypto regulation. Pierce, known in the crypto community as Crypto Mom, she's not. I don't know who keeps saying that. I think one person called her Crypto Mom last year, and multiple websites keep calling her Crypto Mom. No one, that's not a thing. There's another, what's that other guy? There's another really prominent person in the cryptocurrency space, and they keep trying to give people like cute little, memorable like nicknames, and that's no one. People just call her Hester Pierce. Like, stop trying to make her this adorable little icon. She's one of the heads of the SEC. Like, just leave her name alone. She suggested that the U.S. SEC can look to our counterparts overseas for ideas in untangling some of the most difficult legal and policy questions in the area. Here she is right here. Because so much of the activity is taking place outside the U.S., you got that right, we have to think about our regulation with a sensitivity for cross-border considerations, cooperation, and what I call co-learning. And then she continued saying probably the same exact thing. Interesting. I assumed in 2018 that it would be a bit of a flip. I thought other countries, and I think they were. I assumed that other countries would wait for their regulation before the U.S. gave it. So we were told last year that the U.S. would give some type of regulatory framework, something, bare bones of exactly what was happening within the cryptocurrency space within the United States. And I assumed that from there we would have India, Russia, not China so much, but, you know, major other countries around the world who would then also say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. I assume that they were waiting for the United States. But it appears that the U.S. is now looking towards other countries for what they have done or exactly how they've been regulating cryptocurrencies. Quite fascinating. It's a bit of not a tipping of scales, but you understand exactly what I mean. The U.S. is usually at the forefront of a lot of these things. A lot of people have been coming forward saying, hey, why isn't the U.S. at the forefront? The U.S. could be at the forefront. Why isn't the U.S. front of the helm, the front of the horse? Walking in front of the horse is not a phrase, but you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see exactly. I still have no hope, me personally, that there's going to be any type of crypto regulations from the SEC or CFTC sometime this year. I assume mid-2020. Once again, the longer they wait, first of all, even when we get crypto regulation, it won't be detrimental to the cryptocurrency space. It'll be more so of a, is this a security? Is this a commodity? How much are you going to be taxed? How much is so and so and so? This is usually what we've seen thus far from other countries. And I assume at this point that the US won't have a hyper negative stance on the cryptocurrency space. But that's all it'll pretty much happen. And the second part being the longer that they take, the longer that any other country takes, the stronger the Bitcoin network, the XRP network, the Ether network becomes more robust, has more people on it, buying fragments of it, buying more of it, holding as many coins as possible for the future. The stronger all of this stuff becomes and the more it permeates into the minds of others. So the longer countries wait, just the better it is for us. It's always a win-win for the cryptocurrency space. Next up, one of my favorite news stories. LedgerX CEO Paul Chu is not happy with the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission. The regulated crypto derivatives platform announced on Wednesday that it was launching the first physically settled Bitcoin futures contracts in the United States. But soon after, the CFTC stepped in, saying that it did not approve LedgerX's application to provide crypto futures trading after all. Chu responded to the bombshell from the CFTC in a series of tweets, threatening to sue the agency for breach of duty and engaging in anti-competitive behavior. Here's the actual tweet right here. It says, breaking, CFTC spokesperson has confirmed to CoinDesk that LedgerX has not yet been approved to offer physically settled Bitcoin futures contracts. More detail to come. And Paul Chu said, also breaking, I've decided to sue the CFTC for anti-competitive behavior, breach of duty, going against the regs, etc. He said if the government does not do that kind of thing, If the government does not do the right thing, we will sue them, period. I am already talking to our lawyers about this. The CFTC is breaking the law right now. They have acted in horrible good faith. I have recordings, thank goodness, for this type of thing, and I'm going to release all of them on Twitter until the government does their effing job. True quote from one of my executives: "How the fudge are we wasting so much taxpayer money with the CFTC? Do they really have nothing else to do, like monitor swaps or something?" End quote. Here's the rest of the. So yeah, it's a real thing. Def notice it. If the CFTC had given LedgerX the green light, then the Institutional Derivatives Exchange would have become the first U.S. firm to offer physical BTC futures that issues payouts in the underlying cryptocurrency instead of cash. I mentioned next week, and I'm so glad that this happened. And I really like it. I like when people kind of just talk from the heart, whether it be about anything. Just be honest about it. Be as real as possible. I like that he went onto Twitter and said all of these things, because I mentioned before, first of all, the entire situation seems to be the people from LedgerX put in their application before the people from the New York Stock Exchange to be able to launch their own physical Bitcoin futures. According to the sayings of the internet and what people are saying back and forth, is that the people from LedgerX were told by the CFTC, if you have not heard back from us in 180 days, you have therefore been approved. There was like a waiting period of 3 months, 180 days. And apparently that period ended. The people, what I heard from LedgerX, were counting down. They have multiple lawyers. They're multi-million. I don't think they're a billion-dollar company, but anything that has over $1 million, you typically have at least 5 lawyers behind you. So I'm going to assume with as much energy behind them that they have, they probably are worth several 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even $100 million. The point being, they have lawyers behind them who are probably making sure that they stepped in compliance with what exactly the CFTC had to say. They waited the 180 days, and this is why they came up with the information. They said, okay, we're going to do it in about 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, tomorrow's the day. And the moment they did it, the CFTC came forward and they were like, no. And it's kind of weird, because I mentioned in the other video, I said, I don't think that the people from LedgerX would be that stupid to simply go, well, we haven't heard from them. It's been 160 days. You guys just want to launch it and see what happens. The CFTC and the SEC have gone after multiple companies, and they've charged these companies millions of dollars for even thinking about launching an ICO. So I didn't think from the get-go that they would be doing something like this. Even in the other tweet, it says right here, it says the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, practically owns the CFTC, in case you haven't noticed. I said it was kind of weird. I said, don't you think it's really odd that there were two companies? It was LedgerX and some other one. I can't remember exactly. I guess they must have actually been rejected, but they got in before the people from the New York Stock Exchange were able to put in their ballot, their vote, their name into the hat for the CFTC to be able to choose them for the physical Bitcoin futures. In the same exact time, when the people from LedgerX was supposed to release their Bitcoin futures, the CFTC said no, and later on that day, we had news from the New York Stock Exchange that theirs was going to launch very, very soon. This definitely has to do with money. This definitely has to do with I don't like the word clout, but it always seems very appropriate for what I have to say. This has to do with the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ or any other major financial player being able to say, hey, we did it first. This is why, for those of you who don't know, keep in mind as well, pay attention to everything that happens around you. The New York Stock Exchange had also announced that the reason why they were doing the testing of the backed launch was because they were trying to coincide it exactly with I think the 50th anniversary of the moon launch or something like that. So everyone wants to have these great moments. Everyone wants to be able to say, well, we did this, we first launched ours when on the anniversary of the moon launch, and they go, wow, that's amazing. Well, we did this on this date because it's very significant. They like to have these moments in time so that they can say, this has been happening all throughout history. For those who don't read history books, this happens with everything. When other things are launched, when other things are created, people usually try to create them or launch them or announce them on a certain day so that it goes into the news and that it's kind of there forever in history. In 1890, on July 14th at so-and-so time, which was the same exact time, they do this on purpose. Anyway, rambling on once again, the point is, I feel that something is amiss. Something's not right. I don't think that any company, especially with all the CFTC and the SEC have been fining companies 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 million US dollars for having done something slightly wrong. And I assume with a large enough company with enough lawyers behind them, they probably knew the rules. They probably even had a physical calendar, like, you know, those calendars like when you walk by and go, okay, today's the 5th, and you put a little X. Today's the 6th. I'm sure they made certain that they were not doing anything illegal. Let's see exactly what ends up happening. I am not for government corruption, and I am a little tired of it. I assumed stupidly in 2017 and 2018 that not that governments would simply fall in line, but that they would at least be honest in some sort of way to, you know, if you can't control the cryptocurrency space, at least try to regulate it how you want to, so therefore you can be a bit more knowledgeable as to exactly what's happening within the cryptocurrency space. But I have a feeling, if nothing else, especially since the people from the New York Stock Exchange said that they're going to be launching very, very soon, don't be surprised within the next 2 weeks if we hear that BACT is going to launch, or that some other physically settled Bitcoin futures contracts has been confirmed for some other major financial name. It's very, very sad that this has to happen. Like why couldn't you let the people from Ledger X be the first people? Like, how great would that have been if the CFTC simply had put their weight behind the people from Ledger X and were like, yeah, you know, they're pretty good people. People should start using them or whatever. But you can still, whatever. I think in very utopian or just normal terms, you know, how to make life a little bit better. Anyway, I am certain we are going to get more news from this later on. And without further ado, let's move on. Someone had a problem with me before. I think I said, I normally say without further ado, let's move on. But one time I said like without further ado as like a little joke, and they were like, that's nasty. And I'm like, it's a joke, dude. It's YouTube. I don't know how to make you feel better. I'm sorry. Next up, China's in the news. The China Central Bank, the People's Bank of China, the PBOC, announced that it has accelerated the development of its cryptocurrency. In a August 2nd statement, the People's Bank of China summarized the proceedings of a video conference in which the bank conveyed the party central committee and the state council priorities on economic and financial incentives, ranging from monetary policy to support for small businesses. The People's Bank of China suggested that it should accelerate the research and development of its cryptocurrency. Furthermore, the statement also indicates that much attention should be given to other domestic and foreign cryptocurrencies. Additionally, the bank said it should strengthen financial risk remediation, as well as its policy propaganda interpretation, and respond quickly to social concerns. I love the word propaganda. People's Bank of China has seemingly prioritized the development of a digital renminbi in response to the growing adoption of cryptocurrencies globally, especially following the announcement of Facebook's Libra stablecoin project in early July. People's Bank of China Director Wan Xin said that Libra could create a scenario under which sovereign currencies would coexist with the US dollar-centric digital currencies, but there would be, in essence, one boss, that is the US dollar and the United States. If so, it would bring a series of economic, financial, and even international political consequences. So, not shocked at all. We've mentioned many times on this channel before that for some reason, the country of China is obsessed with cryptocurrencies. I don't think, especially after the last couple of years, for those of you, once again, who have not Googled it or have not looked at it, or you can even find it on YouTube, look up the either like the Sesame credit score or the social credit score China, or China Sesame score. You can find a bunch of it. The stuff that's been happening in China the last couple of years lets me know there will probably not be a future anytime soon where China is going to be outright allowing Bitcoin, XRP, Litecoin, Ether, any coin out there within their borders unless it is heavily regulated by them. But the fact that they are talking about creating their own cryptocurrency now and getting a little bit more serious about it is all because of Facebook. Isn't it kind of weird? Because a lot of countries have realized, as the US is typically normally is the powerhouse of the world at the moment, the launch of Libra being a threat to the US is a threat to the rest of the world, as they probably don't have economies that are as robust as the United States. And I assume we are 5th August? I assume by the end of October, maybe the 1st of November, we're going to have several major countries. I don't foresee a country throwing their weight behind Bitcoin this year, but we are definitely going to have a couple of countries talking about that they're going to be launching their own cryptocurrencies. This is definitely the name of the game right now. Everybody wants to launch their own thing. Everybody wants their own coin, not realizing that other people don't want their own coin, that launching their own coin is the exact same thing as what they already have right now. The digital fiat currencies are going to be just garbage. And then even more so, the structure that they're building around these things only pertains to their country. They're not doing this interoperably connected. They aren't. I know they're not. I know it for a fact. I would have thought otherwise about 2 or 3 years ago, when I thought that governments were maybe a little bit more on the ball with things. I can tell you, just from my own personal experience, I'm pretty sure that governments are only prioritizing the creation of a currency and a system within their country. And they're also going to have issues when, once again, trying to send it back and forth between other countries that are also going to have third and fourth party members validating the transactions or validating the so-and-so, and it's just going to take as much time as it took before. And this only, once again, strengthens the actual need for the cryptocurrencies that we have right now. And not even as far as like price, not even as far as anything else, not even as far as like Bitcoin being the coin to use. It's more so like the coins that we have now are already borderless. Even more so, even the stable coins that we have right now, they're borderless. And these government currencies are not going to be borderless because they don't want borderless currencies. When things are borderless, you have no control over them. The reason why all these countries have retained power is because they've created these laws that make sure that you can't send your money when you want to, or if you're trying to send too much money, that you have to tell them, and also your bank, and also someone else has to also be told that you're taking this money out of the country or you're sending it somewhere else. So the thought that any country would be willingly allowing the outflow of tons of money, because whenever a country does horribly economically, people try to take their money out of that country. About 3, 4, 5, 6 something years ago, there was a situation within China. Not even other countries, just China. I mean, it was happening elsewhere, but within China, there were signs that there was the possibility of an economic slowdown, and this scared a lot of people because since the 80s, China had been moving upward as far as money. Economically, they were doing incredibly well. But at the first signs of trouble, when markets were kind of dropping around 5-10% over the course of a couple of months, and people were like, yeah, we're not experiencing the same amount of output. People aren't buying as many things as they were before. People aren't so and so, and so there aren't a lot of people who are visiting our country. Markets started going down within China, and people within China were taking their money from their bank accounts, and they were simply sending it overseas. They were buying stuff in Canada. They were buying stuff in the U.S. I'm pretty sure there's a handful of people who know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a situation, not even a situation. There was an event that ended up happening about 5, 6, 7 years ago, where a large amount of people from China were buying tons of property in New Zealand, in Australia, in parts of South Korea, in Europe, mainly the United Kingdom and some Paris, and there was maybe one other city that Chinese investors were focusing on, Vancouver, not so much Montreal, and I want to say New York, Miami, and also Los Angeles, and somewhere around the wider California space. There are definitely some people who know exactly what I'm talking about, and this was a huge thing because it was like they realized that something was going wrong with their economy, and they were like, nope. They picked up their money, not physically, it was a bank account, sent it overseas, and they were buying tons of stuff, and the value of property in these countries and everything else were skyrocketing immediately because these people had millions of dollars, and they were like, oh. Even better, the craziest part was I love documentaries. I love documentaries about money, finance. So this is how I know all these things. They were showing these people, I kid you not. They were showing these people, and they were like, so why'd you decide to buy in Vancouver? Oh, because it's cheap. And they're like, well, to buy a house here or a flat or anything is, around $250,000. Yeah, but where we come from is about $3 million. Oh, they were like, so what do you plan on buying here? Well, I'm buying a house for me, buying a house for my wife. We have 2 kids. They're each getting their own house as well. And we're going to buy about 6 other properties as an investment. And like the look on the newscaster's face, it happened in every single place that I was watching a documentary or something like this. There was always a situation where they always try to find like someone who they can sit down and talk to and say, okay, what do you plan on doing? Like, what are your interests in the country? And these people told them flat out, they were like, well, I can get a studio for about $500,000 in China, but here Me and my family just bought a 3-bedroom house for half the price. So I think we're going to buy another house. And this is kind of how things went on. So anyway, that story aside, what ended up happening was that China figured this out really, really fast. And they were like, nope. So they put huge capital controls within the country. And I think the yearly limit that can leave China is, I believe, 50,000 US dollars, the equivalent. I think that's the number that they decided to settle on, which is, I mean, not to say that it's nothing, but if you're trying to buy a house, if you're trying to buy something that you've wanted for a while, that you believe will increase in value, 50,000 isn't a lot. So it causes people to once again start spending exclusively within China. And then the Chinese economy started, guess what? It started going back up. So what ended up happening a couple years after that, around 2015, 2016, I was watching a documentary of art around the world and how exactly people transact in art, how they buy art, what they do with art, so and so and so. Once again, they focused on China. And they went to a, for those of you who have never heard of Sotheby's, or what's the other one? Christie's. These are very large auction houses, usually beautiful places. Anyway, and they were discussing with people, I think they were having some type of an exhibition or something within China between Sotheby's or Christie's, can't remember exactly which one. And they were talking about the capital controls within the country. And this person, they had to blur out his face. They had to blur out his face, obviously. And they were asking him what he was doing there. He said, well, because of the capital controls here, I can't do anything. So they said, what do you plan on doing? They said, well, there's a ruby and an emerald that I plan on buying. And they said, how much of these? They said, about 15 million. You know, they were very, very expensive jewels. Within China, you can definitely buy these things if you want with your own money. You can purchase them. And after that, they're jewels. No one knows what happens to them. So they actually followed this guy. It was amazing. It was incredible. It was incredible. It was incredible. They followed this man and his family about a week and a half later, after the purchase had gone through, the money had been transferred, what have you, so on and so forth. The papers had been signed. And they took these jewels and they got onto a private plane and they flew to the UK. When they flew to the UK, they had an accord with that auction company already. And that auction company put the same exact thing back up for sale in the United Kingdom. They went to a bank, they opened up an account in that country, and when those jewels, rubies, whatever you kind of want to call them, had been sold once again, that money went into their UK account, and that allowed them to then buy. It's so fascinating that people will do what they need to do in order to be able to like use their own money. It's so fascinating. So the point being, after my rambling, is that because of this, China has incredibly strong capital controls. They will not allow people to take their money out of the country, or if they do, it's very restricted. And I don't assume in the future that they're going to throw their interest behind Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency that they don't have explicit control over. But yeah, now you know a little bit more about China and exactly how intense things can be there. And without further ado, actually, here's the actual article from the People's Bank of China. I do not read Mandarin, I believe is the language. But for those of you who can, here it goes. And without further ado, let's move on. A bit of a country hop of an episode. To finish things off, the Iranian government has instituted a new law that does not accept crypto as legal tender or recognize domestic transactions carried out with cryptocurrencies on the 4th of August. The cabinet of Iran, or Iran, depending on how you want to say it, ratified and released a new bill saying that the government will not recognize any domestic trading activity involving cryptos. Iranian news agency Press TV reported today. Per the report, the new bill says that the government and the banking system will not view digital currencies as legal tender, and that Iran's central bank will not guarantee their value. First of all, your central bank, you didn't create the crypto. You can't guarantee their value because you did not create them. It's not yours. The new bill follows comments from the deputy governor of Iran's central bank, who in July announced that the buying and selling of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin was illegal. Iran had previously authorized cryptocurrency mining as an industrial activity within a specified permitting scheme. In order to mine cryptocurrency in Iran, local miners will need to get approval from Iran's Ministry of Industry and Mining and Trade, as well as to ensure that their mining facilities are located outside a 30-kilometer perimeter of all provincial centers in the country. I want to read more, but I think my annoyance won't allow me to do so. The fact that I wonder, this is coming from my mind, the truth. I firmly believe that cryptocurrencies are going to be big, that they're going to be huge, and this is kind of telltale by all the governments and countries around the world who are desperate to create their own cryptocurrencies or make sure that they have a stronghold on the cryptocurrency space before it becomes too large. I believe that within the next 10 years, cryptocurrencies are going to surprise a lot of people who did not buy cryptocurrencies in 2019 and therefore are going to be flabbergasted when we have these new crazy all-time highs. And maybe even some of you out there are living on beach houses and you have a little boat and you're with your family having fun and all that other stuff. I'm fairly certain that cryptocurrencies are going to be major within the next couple of years, and are probably going to be the structure, or if not the only structure that we have for the financial world. There's so many countries out there who are making sure that they miss the bus. They see the bus, they buy their ticket, and they wait till the bus pulls off to not even run after the bus, simply waiting for the next bus that is going to arrive in the next 3.5 hours. I understand why countries, I don't sympathize with them, but I understand why countries are doing what they do and trying to get the cryptocurrency space under control, is because they don't want to lose any power that they have. Whether they realize it or not, their power is almost already gone because the idea is already there. Even if all the cryptocurrencies that we had right now exploded into dust, all of our computers became ashes, somebody would create a new computer, and other people would create new cryptocurrencies, and the same exact thing would go on. It may take 10, 15 years, but the process would once again be there. The idea that you can tell people, oh, yeah, it says it's somewhere around here as well. There's also like a restriction on being able to bring in machines into the country that could even be used for mining cryptocurrencies. The fact that you think you can tell people that they can't bring in tiny machines with them into the country, or that they can't plug that machine into a wall and plug that into their computer and create or validate things on a network that you did not create, I find to be very special. I'm trying to choose my words because I can go off at the handle sometimes, and I'm trying to be a nicer person. The point is, it's very odd that this is happening. Don't be surprised if this continues to happen. And I guess my main takeaway from this is, I wonder where these countries will be in 5 years. I don't even think it's going to take 15 to 20 years. I think in 5 years, we're going to see a sizable difference. There's already a huge difference in the cryptocurrency space from 2017 to 2019, even where we are right now. It's been a major, for those of you who've been here since the beginning of my channel, you've noticed we are very mainstream right now, and it's only going to continue, especially as prices end up going higher. In the next 5 years, even let's say by the year 2025, I think we're going to be in a completely different world. I think crypto prices for select coins will have skyrocketed, and we're going to have a situation where other countries out there are going to slowly realize, hey, we should have gotten to that before. We should do something. Maybe we should start, trying to support these as well. We're going to finally support one of these coins and start trying to buy up as much of it as possible because it was illegal before, and therefore now it's going. I can see it. I can see it in the cards. I can see it on the screen that things like this are going to happen. And I wonder exactly what's going to happen to these countries who are going to be desperately running to either buy these coins or trying to get it integrated into their countries when they had the opportunity to do so. It's you know exactly what it's like. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Everyone has sat there at one point or another and thought, man, I wish I had bought Bitcoin in 2009. Oh gosh, can you imagine buying Bitcoin for 9 cents? Can you imagine buying a $100 Bitcoin? We've all had these moments. We've all had these periods where we're sitting at work, or we're on the bus, or we're on the train, or we're with a friend, and we're not listening to that friend, and we're like, can you imagine buying a $20 Bitcoin? I have $100 on me. I could buy 5 of them. These little moments, governments are going to have the same exact ridiculous aha moment when they're going to go, can you imagine if we had just accepted Bitcoin in 2019? Can you imagine if we had bought it in 2017? These moments will happen. And I always wonder, 5 years isn't that far off, really. So I guess we'll definitely see exactly what ends up happening to all these countries. Here's the actual press release right here from presstv.com. And yeah, it's very fascinating. I wish I could have a discussion with a world leader, like a real discussion. and ask them, like, what do you think about these things? Like, do you see this going? Like, I assume my phone and any other recording equipment would not have to be in the room. But I want to know, really, like, do these people not think that this is going to be a thing? Like, you have to see this is clearly moving to something greater. Why would multiple countries be desperately trying to create their own coin? Why are there multiple institutions, banks, companies also trying to create their own cryptocurrencies, to create infrastructure, to create custody platforms and solutions for very rich people? You as a government leader, you have to see that this is going to be greater than anything. What am I trying to say? You have to see as a government that you're not going to remain in power because cryptocurrencies are going to take over. That's the nicest way of kind of say it. And I want to chat with them and say, do you really think in 10 years that you won't have to integrate these things, that you won't have to allow, even if you don't allow mining, that people will still find a way to be able to transact in these coins? You'd better believe by the time Bitcoin, first of all, we already know that multiple other countries around the world people are always buying up cryptocurrencies nonstop in these countries. To think by the time Bitcoin ends up going around $26,000, $28,000, that people in the countries where Bitcoin is illegal, that they're not going to desperately find a way to get some Bitcoin, especially with the idea that it could potentially go to 100,000 in a couple of months or a year thereafter. You are sadly mistaken. I always wonder. But then you usually end up finding out that government leaders usually didn't know, or they didn't even think of it. They assumed that the status quo would always remain the status quo, that where we are, where they are, would kind of always be this way, that they're at the top of the mountain, we're at the bottom, and they can just keep spitting on us, and that's kind of how things will remain. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but you get exactly what I'm talking about. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Strange Radio Central, Milweezy, I love that one, Damien, Bankroll Network, Crypto Master Ventures in Thailand, and then Cryptopolis, 242 to the World, Triple M and J, My Keto Kitchen, Assam M. El Zofri, Adobo, Krypton Beer Shipmate, Brady Niels, L. Doug, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, Crypto Joe Mohair Maroney, Carl Birchenoff, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Rai Rai, Yasha Harari, Amy Starsheen, Jeffrey Ramsey, Clara T. Snowden, crypto artist Coldy, 3D, Nicholas, One Earth, One Piece, One Love, Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich III, RF Dusty, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Tom Sucks at Basketball, and Sam Skips Leg Day, apparently also another fan favorite, Jeremy the Photographer, Jim Gardner, Minting Coins, Arthur Yaku, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, and Mechanic. Thank you all, an insurmountable amount for your support. At the moment, for those who are not looking at the screen, Bitcoin is up. I woke up this morning, I saw the price, and I was like, how it's really funny how your mind works when you first wake up. I saw the price of Bitcoin was up by like 8%, and I was like, oh, only 8%? And I looked at the number, and I was like, well, it's only at 11,000, and I was like, what? It was at 9,000 a couple days ago. Like, what are you talking about? Bitcoin is currently at 11,600 US dollars, depending on which price metric or price website that you're looking at. I've seen a couple of 11,700s. What's happening across the wider cryptocurrency space at the moment is that altcoins are up, but they're not up as much as Bitcoin. And just about all of their Satoshi prices are in the red, which means people are buying up their Bitcoin. They're selling off their altcoins. The price of stuff in US dollars is going up because people are pushing US dollars into the market. However, people who are holding altcoins are selling off their altcoins and pushing them into Bitcoin. I think it's happening across the entire market. I don't think there's any coin that's like significantly up or that's kind of outside of this trend at the moment. Every single down 6%, 7%, 4%, 8%. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff starting that a lot of people think that we could be on the verge of a Bitcoin heavy movement upwards. It depends on what kind of who you're listening to. A lot of people think that the other movements down and us not going down further could have been a very bullish indication that the market won't let the value of Bitcoin go below 9,000, as it's always found its way back above 10,000, usually within a couple of days after. And now we are relatively close to 12,000 US dollars per Bitcoin. I think we can do it by the middle of this week. I see no real reason not to. I mean, even more so. We went up almost 9% over the last 24 hours. So I wouldn't count it out that we could see a $12,500 Bitcoin by Friday, somewhere around there, especially because usually what ends up happening is the market sentiment, as it were, is that if we tested or got near 14,000 and we went down, there's nothing really stopping us from going to that number once again. A lot of people think, and I try not to hold my breath, it's very difficult because I want to breathe. A lot of people think that we could potentially try to hit 20,000 within the next 2 or 3 months, or within that time frame. I assume as we get closer to 20,000, we're going to have that hype back in the market again. And one of two things could happen. And I know the price can only go up or down, but I think it's going to be a very dramatic up or down. I think if we get close to 20,000 and people get too scared, we're probably going to go back to around 13, 14,000 and just in extreme fear from other people. Or if we end up going to around 19,800, remember those a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago where we were, close to these numbers and it was always like $13,998.94. I think we're going to have another one of those things where we're going to be scratching the surface of 20,000 and we're either going to slam down or people are going to lose their minds in anticipation or the thought that Bitcoin could potentially go to 25,000. And that's going to start the next major insane bull moment, run, topic, race, whatever I'm trying to say. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. Very interesting week so far. The week has only begun, and already the market is in green and red. I think Bitcoin, what is it? Bitcoin's dominance is at 67.74%. A couple days ago, it was at 67.01. Somewhere around there, a lot of people think, THINK, that if we end up getting near a Bitcoin 70% dominance, this could be an indication that we are probably going to hit a 75%. There's so much speculation happening within the market because a lot of people think that we're either on the verge of a Bitcoin-dominated market where Bitcoin is the only coin that goes up, or that we are on the verge of there's three things. Either Bitcoin-dominated, crypto completely shooting up altogether in unison, or Bitcoin trying to hit a new dominance high, falling back down, and then altcoins losing their minds price-wise. The best part is no one knows. If you are here for the long term, or if you are here for the long term, I can't think of another phrase, it could probably be in your best priority interest. It's in your interest to make sure that you are hedging your bets. I know a lot of people out there don't like Bitcoin. However, I think it is foolish to not hold any Bitcoin. At least aim for 1 million Satoshis. I like to tell people at least 10 million Satoshis, just because it is a more significant amount. I think in order to be, in order to be part of the Bitcoin 1%, you have to hold at least 28 million Satoshis. I think that's the Bitcoin 1% number. And yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.